US President Donald Trump has made a short 10-minute televised address to the nation defending his decision to push for a war on the Mexican border. However, President Trump stopped short of making any announcement of the national emergency. British Prime Minister Theresa May has suffered a humiliating defeat in Parliament by Labour and Conservative MPs who organised to demonstrate the strength of parliamentary opposition to leaving the EU with no deal. The lawmakers backed an amendment to the finance bill which would limit the scope for tax changes following a no deal unless authorised by MPs by 303 to 296 votes. British police has said that policing Brexit is a challenging task after lawmakers called on them to do more to tackle intimidation of politicians and journalists outside Parliament. The statement followed an incident on Monday when protesters shouted verbal abuse at prominent pro-EU Conservative politician during live television interviews. London Metropolitan Police said the force was assessing whether any crimes had been committed. Flights from London's Heathrow Airport were halted after the airport said there had been sightings of a drone near Europe's busiest air hub. London's second busiest airport, Gatwick, was severely disrupted when drones were sighted on 3 consecutive days in December, resulting in about 1,000 flights being cancelled or diverting and affecting 140,000 passengers. Heathrow said earlier this month it was working closely with authorities, including the police, and looking at relevant technology to combat the threat of drones. Construction workers at the Salisbury home of former Russian spy Sergei Skripal are decontaminating the property 10 months after he was found poisoned with nerve agent nearby in an attack that Britain has blamed on Russia. The workers have started to erect scaffolding before the arrival of military team expected to remove the roof during the decontamination process. Skripal was found with his daughter Yulia, who collapsed on a public bench in the southern English city in March last year. Britain has charged 2 Russians in absentia with their attempted murder. A Russian lawyer who attended a June 2016 meeting at Trumta under scrutiny in the US Special Counsel's probe of Russian election meddling has been charged in an unrelated case that US prosecutors said showed evidence of her ties to the Kremlin. The lawyer who represented Russian defendants in a money laundering case settled in 2017 was charged with obstructing justice by submitting a declaration that she falsely represented came from the Russian government independently. US President Donald Trump's administration has lowered the status of the European Union's diplomats in Washington without notifying Brussels. The change in protocol for a close US ally means the bloc's Washington-based diplomats are less likely to be invited to high-profile events and have a lower importance than under former President Barack Obama. The snub was illustrated at a December 5 funeral of another former US President, George H.W. Bush, when Europe's envoy was among the last diplomats to be called to pay respects. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said the United States was redoubling not only diplomatic but commercial efforts to put real pressure on Iran. Speaking in Jordan, Pompeo said the US decision to withdraw troops from Syria did not jeopardize efforts to counter threats in the region, which he characterized as coming from Islamic State and Iran. During his week-long trip to West Asia, Pompeo will visit Egypt, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, Qatar, Oman and Kuwait. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan's spokesman said Ankara will not seek permission to carry out any operation in Syria, although it is willing to coordinate with allies. The presidential spokesman also said there is no slowdown in the United States' withdrawal from Syria, adding that Turkey was focused on what would happen to American bases and weapons given to Kurdish fighters. Spokesman Ibrahim Kalin made the comment at a news conference after he met with U.S. National Security Advisor John Bolton. An online fundraising page to support Frdric, the French boxer filmed landing punches on riot police last weekend, had collected more than €100,000 by Tuesday, drawing criticism from the government and social media users. The fund was ultimately closed by the online company and the total amount raised was hidden from the public. But early on Tuesday, more than €114,000 had been collected. Security remained tight in the northeast of Brazil as national security forces work to clamp down on criminal gangs carrying out vandal attacks. The state of Ceará has been rocked by 6 nights of attacks, including a bomb that exploded under a highway, torched buses and assaults against banks and police barracks. Security officials believe the attacks were triggered by the new state government's plan to undercut the power of gangs by sending prisoners to whatever jails have space to take them in, ending a long-standing practice of separating them according to gang affiliation. Representatives of a leading Congolese presidential candidate, Felix Tshisekedi, have met with outgoing President Joseph Kabila's camp to ensure a peaceful transfer of power. Kabila's camp, however, denied that any such meeting had occurred since the December 30th election, for which provisional results are expected to be announced later this week. Tshisekedi ran against Kabila's handpicked candidate, and another opposition leader, Martin Fayulu, from pre-election polls showed with a healthy lead. The United Nations Refugee Agency has said the 18-year-old Saudi woman asylum seeker who fled to Thailand has been moved to a safe place. The UNHCR said it was investigating the Saudi woman's case and that it would take time to process her application for refugee status before she can seek asylum in a third country. The girl informed the world of her dramatic plight on social media, drawing widespread support and concern, which convinced Thai authorities to back down from deporting her back to Saudi Arabia. Hundreds of Thai activists rallied through Bangkok against a possible delay of a national election set for next month in a demonstration that led to a protester getting his head shaved for the cause. The protest was the largest since the military government lifted a ban on political activity imposed after a 2014 coup. The junta has promised and postponed the election several times since it came to power, with the latest date set for February 24th. The second time this week, protesters carried signs which read "We want election" and chanting "No delay" in unison. One person was killed, 4 others were injured and 2 others missing after an oil tanker caught fire off Hong Kong's Lama Island. The vessel carrying oil and chemicals caught fire at Lama Southwest Anchorage. Among the 26 people aboard, 1 man was found dead at the scene while 23 others were rescued from sea. 4 of the rescued were injured and sent to hospital. Among them, 1 was seriously burned. Residents of the Greek capital of Athens woke up to rare snowfall as the country shivered in the grip of a cold spell, with sub-freezing temperatures in some regions, snow-covered sandy beaches and beach umbrellas on the coast. Most schools around Athens and the rest of the country were closed. In the village of Grammatiko, some 45 kilometers from downtown Athens, residents dug out their cars and front walks buried under snowfall. 3 Spanish mountaineers and their Peruvian guide have been killed in an avalanche in the Peruvian Andes. 1 person from the group has survived. The group was reportedly returning from the 5,000-meter high Nevado Martillo mountain in Peru when the avalanche struck. Local media reported mountain units from Peru's national police worked in dangerous conditions to recover the bodies and transport them to a local morgue Nevado Mateo is a popular summit among mountaineering tourists. India's Supreme Court has cleared the way for Vedanta to reopen its South Indian copper smelter by refusing to stay an order from the country's environmental court. The government of Tamil Nadu state ordered the smelter shut permanently in May last year after protests against alleged pollution at the plant in the city of Thoothukudi, during which the police firing killed 13 demonstrators. In December, India's National Green Tribunal revoked the state decision to shut the plant, leading Tamil Nadu to appeal the NGT ruling. Australian Foreign Minister Marise Payne has met Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the inaugural session of the 4-day multilateral conference in the Raisina Dialogue 2019. Payne is on her maiden visit to India and it is followed by President Ramnath Kovind's visit to Australia in November 2018. Payne also met her Indian counterpart Sushma Swaraj and held delegation-level talks discussing on improving ties between the two nations.